So there are multiple responses, and this is great because that way we get to see multiple viewpoints on the entire thing. Now, the first question is it too early to establish a regulatory framework for OTT services? Basically, I we need to establish a regulatory framework for OTT services. When do we do that? Right? Is it right now? Is it later? Is it when we have 100% internet connectivity? And this answer was on Medium by an author named Neutral Web on Medium.com. Medium is a very good blogging site, by the way. It's really good. Okay, so the answer is no framework that violates the principles of neutrality should ever be adopted. And this is not an opinion, by the way. This is a principled stand. Net neutrality. See, internet is not something random. Internet is not a cocktail. It's not something arbitrary like a cocktail or maybe a configuration of Alienware PC or something. No, internet is a system through which data can be transmitted, and that data can be anything. Which basically means that at its essence, internet connects people, and it breaks information asymmetry. With information asymmetry, we have tyrants and despots, and we have people who can be swindled. How would you publish negative reviews, or how would you report somebody's wrongdoings without the internet? I wasn't clear on that very much. But suppose you go to a firm, you take their services, okay, and you don't really like it, and you are taken for a ride. What happens after that, right? I mean, see, without the internet, you're like, hey, do whatever you want, take our services or just go. We don't care about you. In the age of the internet, this cannot happen, and this is just one example of information asymmetry in action. And information symmetry is just one advantage provided by the internet. There are many, basically. So why is it that OTT regulations now come to the fore? Why does TRAI want OTT regulations now? Now, the one of the foremost questions that we have to, one of the foremost points that we have to keep in mind is that all the OTT services existed way before smartphones. Okay, Google, Gtalk, Facebook Messenger. All of these existed much before um your cell phones came in, and your telcos were the ones who provided you ISP. Maybe BSNL provided internet access, but not everyone did. Now, the point that I'm trying to make over here is OTTs are not just some random services over the top services. They are not random services. They are huge businesses in themselves. That is what you have to understand. And cell phones just happen to be one interface through which they can be accessed. So what does it mean? It means that the people over at TRAI do not really understand how businesses work in the 21st century. So all these businesses have an interface on the cell phone, which and a lot of which provide services which hinder or which provide fair competition to the services rendered by to the services given by our telcos. And so now, what happens is large independent businesses like WhatsApp, large independent businesses, Microsoft owned now, like Skype or Google Hangouts, which were not originating on which did not originate on cell phones. Skype existed much before cell phones penetrated, much before smartphones penetrated, much before the primary method of accessing the internet was cell phone in India. And all these services, these are independent services. No one had any issues with them. They are independent services, independent businesses, all of that. After the smartphones came in, TRAI says, hey, these are small kuti apps which are not giving our telcos enough power, enough revenue. And this is a very fundamental thing. I mean, I do not have many words to describe how stupid this is, but you can take it from me that TRAI is being stupid by calling large businesses in independent domains, by calling them OTT services. Well, if all of these systems are OTTs, then telcos and retail chains and all of them are just businesses, right? You can't club all of them together. You can't. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that This is just bad. OTTs cannot be regulated by TRAI. OTTs are independent businesses and they will obey the law of the land. Every business has its own domain, and probably the associated industry regulator. Okay, I think TRAI's authority is limited only to ensuring that telcos do not retaliate because they have been hurt. They were bad business people, you know. They were lazy. They're like, okay, paisa aa raha hai, aane do, paisa aa raha hai, aane do. They were not smart enough to see that, hey, our text messages are very bad, our text messages are not delivered on time. And even in the age of the internet, when Gtalk existed, when Yahoo IM existed, we still had to use SMSs for internet messaging, for messaging. And they could have grabbed the opportunity to deliver a service by themselves, but they had to wait for someone in the US to innovate. And once someone showed that that was possible, then we started innovating by hike, by line, and all of that. But still, we want to push back, you know. So these are just bad business people, and students take this as an opportunity to understand how business is done in India, how even people at the top, I'm not talking about OTT, how even people at the top are just basically idiots who got an opportunity to make money. Because if you were not idiot, anyone would have spotted the opportunity that text messaging is inherently expensive and it's just not serving any purpose. And you could have replaced it with something like WhatsApp yourself. WhatsApp, the network that it is right now, might require engineering, but WhatsApp, a peer-to-peer messaging service, suppose a peer-to-peer messaging service is not all that difficult to conceptualize. You missed the train, and that was you basically being proven incompetent by the market economy and the market demands. You should pay for it. You should pay for it. You have no authority to control the markets. You have authority to regulate the markets as long as you do not violate its principles. And regulation of the market has to be done only insofar as really powerful players don't dominate, don't curb anyone of opportunities. And by regulating OTTs, you are doing exactly that. Okay, let's move on to the second question. The first question was 7.5 minutes, but since I have made a lot of small points which would apply to almost all the other questions, I think the part here is done.